when I watch debate shows, when somebody's speaking about racism in the media or in life or say Brexit or America, like the TV show has to give an opposite view. So they invite somebody along to debate the opposite view. And they do the same thing when it comes to ecology, when it comes to the environment, where somebody's there, a scientist, sometimes speaking about the ecological crisis that we're about to enter. But then they have to bring somebody who has an opposite view, and now we have a public or a society where we're not as informed, we're not as smart or have dedicated our lives in this aspect. But so how do we decipher that kind of what is true and what isn't true when it comes to the information world? Yeah, that's a question.
No, I think that's a brilliant question, Kishan. I'm really interested to hear your answer as well. I suppose my response to it would be, firstly, there is this sort of simple matter of education, isn't there? That, you know, educating on what fake news is and how to spot it. And I know that in one country in Scandinavia, I'm going to forget which one it was, they successfully resisted a populist leader. And the reason they thought they could do that was because they'd educated on fake news, and because, you know, politics is so used to using the engine of social media to kind of get certain results, you know, and to present certain things. It's like, but they instigated a training program across the whole country about how to spot fake news, and so they've ended up with a much more kind of intelligent political leader and intelligent political system as a result. So I think the first thing is just really education. Like, we can educate ourselves about what fake news is and how to spot it, and that's a really important method for resisting extremism. I think the second thing is to do with this dualistic thing that you were pointing to, that when the media presents a view, they're going to present the opposite view as well, and that they're going to argue it out between them. And like, there's something about that dualistic model that's really belongs to the past, and is one of the things that's keeping us trapped in the mess that we've created. Because actually, as you sort of explained so articulately earlier, the world's not like that. It's this kind of everything is interconnected. It's not like black and white. It's not this or that. It's a kind of interconnected reality. And like, the more we can leave behind those dualistic ways of thinking, you know, the easier we can kind of get into this different worldview. So I would say, like, you know, just look out for the binaries, you know, and if you've got people saying, is it this or is it that, then the reality is like, no, it's not either of those things. There are grey areas, there are lots of different contrasting perspectives, which brings me to my last point, which is like, if you want to keep informed and to be aware yourself, it's like you have to make an effort to step outside your own echo chamber. And it's like, you know, I really know this myself from my own social media feed, because a lot of my networks are very concerned about the environment. So I sometimes find it incredible to find that there are people who don't know these things, because they're living in like different echo chambers, and the things that they're learning about, you know, are perhaps more of a mystery to me. And so we have this duty to like step outside of to engage with people that we don't agree with necessarily, to sort of step outside of those train tracks and actually try and make connections across the board. And like, you know, it's a challenge. You know, St Ethelburgas is built on that foundation of like, we make community across differences, but somehow social media and the algorithms behind social media, you know, just kind of propel us down that line. So actually, we as individuals have to make this very conscious choice and have this discipline to actually go outside of those little train tracks and listen to people who we don't necessarily agree with. So like, stepping outside your echo chamber, I think is really important. But what would you say? I'd be really interested to
I think that's literally exactly what I was thinking as well. I think the echo chamber thing it's so sinister in a way, that because I never signed up to be in the echo chamber. I just follow things, you know, like I watch what I want to watch on YouTube, or I follow certain people on Twitter, but I didn't realize what I was creating was people with the same likes and dislikes as I do, and because of that, it's creeped up on us. It's so difficult for us to even step out of the echo chamber, because I have to physically meet people who are different to me, and I don't know if someone's different to me. Like, you know, you attract the people that you like with the same mindset as you. So that is one challenge that I find quite tough to break out of. Like, I do try and listen to people who have opposite views than I do. Like, I would try and listen to, because I come from the Jain faith, I would like try and listen to Abrahamic faiths about their views on certain topics, or atheists on their views on those topics. But again, that's a conscious effort, and that's very challenging for the majority of people. But the thing about education, I think that is what I would say the fundamental way of eradicating fake news, and that's to start with kids who are early, like early on intervention, like in primary school, like just make them understand how to logically deduct if this is true or not, how to look at evidence to see is this weight up or not. Like for example, when we have these daily uh, announcements by the prime minister and stuff, and they come onto TV every day and they give you a chart, right? I've seen those charts so many times, and as you know, I come from a maths background. I'm like, this doesn't even make sense. There's no x-axis, there's no y-axis, there's no numbers. Like it literally is just squiggles. If a kid gave me that when I was a teacher, they wouldn't get any marks. So it's seeing that and be like, actually, they haven't said anything. And but if you're sitting with other people, mom's like, oh yeah, when the R goes to this level. But I was like, mom, they haven't said anything about what the R is and what level and this and that and the other. And it is very difficult because education is seen as, in my belief, from 5 years old or 4 years old to when you're 21, 22. And that's it, you go into the real world. Where in my opinion, education is lifelong. You know, like I think, especially with the rise of technology and the fact that people who are working will have to quickly adapt to new technologies and new ways of doing things, people will need to get educated along the way and not just using their knowledge from 10 to 15 years ago, because things change so quickly these days. And it's trying to, again, the systems that are in place, trying to create a system which allows people to continuously educate themselves along the way of life and not just when you're younger. So I think that's a massive change. I don't know how to do it, but I think if, for example, companies sponsored people, all right, you've been in this for 5 years, for 1 year, educate yourself about something, and then at least your mind is still active and you can still decipher information. Because when you stop doing that, I think when you get older, it becomes much more difficult. So that's my 2 cents on that.